Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 351. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. We haven't hopped over the pond to speak about this numbnuts in quite some time, so here we are tonight, hopping across the pond to talk about our favorite Uncle Touchy, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Now, there's a new article out in Newsweek, and they spoke with Barry Levine, the man who wrote The Spider. And according to him, he says that the Department of Justice should seek evidence from the UK police in the Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew situation. So it's starting to heat up again with Prince Andrew, right? There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people who are completely disgusted that this guy would think that he's going to make some sort of return to public life and become some sort of socialite again. A lot of people are disgusted by it. And there's a lot of authors, such as this author, who are speaking out on it. So let's jump into this Newsweek article and catch up with our fantastic friend, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Headline: Department of Justice should seek UK police evidence on Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, biographer claims. This article was authored by Jack Royston. So, right off the bat, the author is talking about in the headline about how Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, they should be looked at by the UK police, and the Department of Justice should be seeking evidence from the UK police in regards to both of these guys. Prince Andrew's Royal Protection Officers should testify to the FBI about claims he had sex with a Jeffrey Epstein trafficking survivor, a biographer tells Newsweek. Yeah, that's something we've talked about as well, right? The guards that were with Prince Andrew that night, the people, his protection detail, why haven't they come forward? Why hasn't anyone come forward to corroborate his story? So they should be forced to testify, put them under oath, and let's see what's what. And again, I'm not really a big fan of, using government power to compel people to do anything. But in a situation such as this, these people have earned it. They have earned the government stepping in and forcing them to do something. They're not going to do it of their own free will. They're not going to step up and go speak to the authorities. So, in that case, then I am okay with the government compelling people to comply. It's like being a kid, right? Your parents let you go out until you get in trouble. Then you get in trouble and, well, now you're on restriction. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is locked in a standoff with the DOJ over whether he will give evidence to the investigation into the New York financier pedophile. And why is he even locked in a standoff? Didn't he tell us that he was going to do the honorable thing? Didn't he say that? Wasn't that the line of thought that he was throwing at us during that interview? Oh, I'll cooperate with any investigation with the authorities. Except this one, and that one, and the other one, and the other one. More whinging, more words that turn to wind, and never, ever any action. The Department of Justice wants him to sit down for an interview. They want to sit down across from him and depose him. He wants to give a written interview. So when they say, oh, he's reached out to the Department of Justice and well, yeah, you can reach out all you want, but if you're not going to do what they want you to do, then what's the point? However, sources close to the royal in October told Newsweek he will clear his name and then make a return to public life. Yeah, that's not going to happen. There's already reports about how the Queen slapped it down, and I highly doubt that Prince Andrew, a.k.a. Uncle Touchy, a.k.a. the Prince of Nothing, a.k.a. the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, ever makes a comeback. What, with his mom? I highly doubt it. His mom's very old right now, right? The Queen Mother is an older woman. She shouldn't have to deal with this guy's idiocy, but even when she's gone and, her son takes over, do you really think his brother is going to just let him come back into polite society and everything's going to be fine and dandy? Zero chance. This guy is so delusional. And we should have known how delusional he was when he did that interview with Emily Maitlis and thought he hit it out of the park. Barry Levine told Newsweek that investigators could compel Andrews' testimony if they first obtained evidence from the Special Operations 14 Metropolitan Police Unit that provides royal protection. Yeah, well, I can get on board with that, right? If they have the evidence in hand, it would be very hard for anyone in England or in the royal family to say, nah, we're not going to have him talk to anybody. He's protected under such and such immunity. I highly doubt that's going to occur if they have the evidence. And we know that the English authorities are not as, I guess you would say, willing here to, kick off their own investigation, as we've seen time and time again. But I don't think that they would have a problem helping this investigation as far as the Department of Justice, and if there was actual evidence that the Department of Justice could provide, or the officers that go under oath, if they had evidence that Andrew was at the at Tramp and at the Belgravia home, etc., that would be huge, and I don't think anybody could look the other way if that evidence emerged. The author of Epstein biography The Spider, released last month, said, "It became very apparent to me that members of the S014 detail that were assigned to him are in a position to testify." For sure. 100% without a doubt. If these guys were there, if they were around, if they know what happened, they need to come forward. Let's get to the bottom of this shit. If these people weren't so devious and they didn't run from justice and from the truth for all these years, we wouldn't even have to worry about it. It would have all been set up. It would have all been taken care of, and all of the ducks would have been in a row, and all of the people responsible would have went to jail. But no, that did not occur. So here we are, all these years later, still searching for answers, as these survivors still search for justice. We have very specific allegations at the very first meeting of the SO14 detail, entering Ghislaine Maxwell's London townhouse, checking out Virginia Roberts before they allowed Prince Andrew to enter. So if you were working on that detail, I think that it would be the right and proper thing for you to give testimony. Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's find out what really happened. I have a sneaking suspicion the reason that has not occurred yet is because it doesn't fit with the prince's narrative. It doesn't fit with Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's BS story. So they've kept these people in the back. They've kept them in the shadows. Nobody has spoken to these people, right? People on the detail, we haven't heard anything about them. And of course, you'll hear the authorities talk about, well, this is national security. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just you providing cover for another member of so-called polite society, another member of the so-called elite who praise and abuses other people who are not in their atmosphere, in their opinions. We are all dispensable to them. We mean nothing. We're the kind of people that if this was the old days, this guy here, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, would all be putting us on the front line with nothing more than a spear and telling us to stop the French cavalry charge. That's how little they think of us. My sense is that there are members of this detail that know specifically these allegations are true. I would like to see what evidence there is in terms of what station logs they may have. And look, this is a very, very poignant point, and it's a very good avenue to travel down. And I'm very interested to see what Mr. Levine finds here when his investigations are exhausted, because I really believe that these guys that were there, the people that were protecting Prince Andrew, they most assuredly should be compelled to testify. And the same goes for the Secret Service if they were ever around with that idiot Bill Clinton. Same deal. Virginia Roberts claims she was flown to Britain and forced to have sex with Prince Andrew at alleged Epstein accomplice, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag, and bipedal serpent, Ghislaine Maxwell's London townhouse. Now, we've talked about that story a lot, and we've went through just about every single detail of that story at this point with a fine-tooth comb. And I'll tell you what, folks, I just don't see how anyone cannot believe what Virginia's talking about here. Everything lines up. There's people who have come out and said they saw them together at the club, etc., etc. Meanwhile, all Andrew has is some BS story about how he was in Woking at a pizza joint with his kids. She says they met again at the pedophile's New York mansion and on his private island, Little St. James, in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Andrew denies the allegations and says he cannot recall ever having met Roberts, despite the existence of a photo of him with an arm around her bare midriff. And not only that, let's be very real, Andrew also sent an email to Ghislaine Maxwell asking about Virginia Roberts. So that sure doesn't seem like a guy who doesn't know her, huh? Sure doesn't seem like a guy who has never met her, huh? Imagine being in a picture and having the audacity, having the huevos to try and tell people, nah, that's not me, bro. That's not me. Look at those fat fingers. That's a Photoshop. Yeah, right. This guy actually has the audacity to try and tell us that our eyes were deceiving us. Oh, what is it, a deep fake? Just stop it already. Do the right thing, do the honorable thing, put on the proper kit, and go and answer some questions, you jackass. Levine said pursuing the evidence from his police detail could force Andrew to give full testimony to the FBI, who are treating him as a witness rather than a target. Yeah, we've talked about that. Now, that might be the premise that they're bringing him in on, right? Oh, yeah, you're just a witness, dude. Come on in. Let's have a talk. Many a times, a witness turns to a person of interest when they sit down with the FBI. Because if you don't think the FBI has all of the information on this clown and everything that, they possibly could have compiled, they do. So they're hoping that they could sit him down, have him start talking, and that he walks himself into some perjury. That's what they're really looking for, and his lawyers are hip to that. That's why he has not sat down to talk with prosecutors. That's why he has not sat down to talk with anybody. He told Newsweek, yes, I think that if there is a way to fast-track getting testimony from Andrew, it would be to get testimony first from SO14 because they know his secrets. And it's a good strategy, right? If he can pry that information away from these guys, that'll be awesome. They know that he was there. They know that while they did not witness the wrongdoing that took place, they can certainly testify to the fact that Joe Exotic was with Virginia Roberts and spent time in the house. That completely blows apart Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's claim that he never even met the young woman. And that's true, 100% true. It would be more corroborating witness, more eyes, and just more damning witness testimony against Uncle Touchy. The FBI first asked for Andrew's testimony in January, and over the summer he was locked in a war of words with then U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jeffrey Berman. And we all know how that turned out for Berman, right? Berman got his walking papers, Audrey Strauss took over the role, and bam, Ghislaine Maxwell gets arrested. Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's legal team says he has repeatedly offered to give a statement. However, Berman accused him of attempting to falsely portray himself to the public as eager and willing to cooperate. And that is where we have the confusion a little bit, right? He wants to give the written testimony, and the authorities want him to sit down in front of them so they can depose him and really give him the business. Levine added, "Right now, Prince Andrew, for the most part, is hanging in the wind, and he faces a true dilemma. The fact he says he never met her is to some degree much worse than saying he was introduced to her, but the accusations she's making against him are false." 100%. I've said that from the jump. If this guy had nothing to hide, he would not be this adamant about never even meeting her when there's picture evidence, okay? It's just such BS. He set himself up in a very bad way by completely denying any knowledge of ever meeting her. I do think they need to look around him, and to me, the security detail is certainly the way to go. It's a good strategy. If Mr. Levine could get any one of those guys that was involved in that security detail to talk to him or provide some evidence, I think that would go a long way in really forcing the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's hand and forcing him, compelling him to speak to authorities. I would hope there would be cooperation from the government with the FBI and SDNY to achieve that. Hester Cavaciuti and Kate Gould of law firms Binmans said the scope of the MLA request is very broad in an article for their firm's website. That's pretty bad news for Prince Andrew as well, right? Anytime you hear anything broad as far as a subpoena or request or anything like that, legally speaking, yeah, you're about to get a colonoscopy. They wrote in Prince Andrew's case, investigators could, for example, request that he provides a witness statement or ask that he provides documents and or property relating to the investigation. Yikes. Could get serious for him, right? This could be a squirrely situation. We see the levers that are there to be pulled on. Now the question is, will they be pulled on? And if what happens in America, if what's going on in America holds like it looks it will, and Joe Biden becomes president, are they going to have the fortitude and the courage to go after these people? These are questions that need to be asked, folks, all right? So, we'll see. We'll really see what's what. But I really hope that this investigation is not interrupted by the turmoil that is going on at the very top of our country. Although Prince Andrew cannot be compelled to cooperate, investigators have at their disposal the full range of powers available to domestic investigators and prosecutors to obtain evidence, including witness summons and search warrants. Yikes. Can you imagine? Someone initiates a search warrant on the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's house? Boy, that would be something. Highly doubt it'll ever occur, but man, would that be good TV. Therefore, if the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family chooses not to cooperate with investigators at an early stage, he is opening himself and the royal family up to more invasive investigative practices, which could be far more embarrassing for the royal family. Yep, colonoscopy time, folks. That's what would happen. And I think that's the last thing the royal family wants, and it's the last thing that they will let occur. There is zero chance that they're going to let this scuzzball, Andrew, be the person that drags them down right now. Now, he might have started or accelerated their downfall, but they're not going to compound their problem by keeping this idiot around. I highly suspect that Prince Andrew is going to be persona non grata in the royal family very soon. The prince was forced to retire from public life in November after a disastrous TV interview with the BBC's Emily Maitlis, in which he refused to say he regretted his friendship with Epstein. Asked about Robert's allegations, Prince Andrew told Maitlis, "Without putting too fine a point on it, if you're a man, it is a positive act to have sex with somebody. You have to take some sort of positive action, so therefore, if you try to forget, it's very difficult to try and forget a positive action, and I do not remember anything." What does that even mean? I remember being blown away when this moron Muppet had this tumbling out of his mouth. What does that even mean? It's a very positive experience for you, maybe, not for her. What an absolute jagoff this guy is. And how anyone defends this dude is beyond me. Oh, he has a few defenders, there's no doubt. But how and why they defend him, I will never know. I can't. I've racked my brain in thinking, when the allegations came out originally, I went, well, that's a bit strange. I don't remember this. Then I've been through it and through it and through it over and over and over again and know nothing. It just never happened. Yeah, okay, sure. Nobody believes you, okay? Nobody. And nobody's going to believe you. Your whole entire BS story is garbage. Holes in it everywhere. Nobody to corroborate it. Nobody has stepped up and said, yeah, Andrew, he didn't do any of that. Nobody. Maybe people you've hired, but nobody that was there at the time. There's no witnesses that say you didn't do this. And yet he expects people to believe the bullshit narrative that he's pumping. He expects people to believe that he is going to once again be a working royal and join the royal family on all of their frolicking through the flowers. Well, he's in for a big surprise. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode, including the PayPal link, can be found in the description box. And tomorrow, episode 2 of Unsolved But Not Forgotten will be released. We'll continue our look at the West Mesa bone collector, and we will build a profile of the victims that lost their lives to this madman. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And as for me, I will be back right here on the Jeffrey Epstein Show in the morning, and we will pick back up where we left off. Have a great night, folks.